Okay, this video is part 2 in my lesson on how to make an advanced user interface in NXTG. So back in part 1 we wrote this pseudocode that you can see here on the left. So in this video what we're going to do is implement that pseudocode in NXTG. So the first line of the pseudocode is to define a variable called curmission to be equal to 0. So to do that you go to edit, define variables, you create a new variable, and then you name that variable curmission, and you select the data type as number. So that's how you define that variable. And then now what you need to do is you need to create a while loop. So you just go to flow, and then you just bring out this while loop right here, and then the rest of your program is all going to be inside of that while loop. So this is my while loop right here, and it just surrounds the rest of my program. Okay, so now we need to work on the switch based on current mission. And to do that, you need to first drag out your current mission. You need to drag out a variable block and define that as current mission, and you need to have it selected on read if it isn't already selected. And then now what you need to do is you need to bring out a switch block. And for the switch, you need to have it selected as value, not sensor, and type is number. And you have to uncheck flat view. And for however many programs you want to run in your user interface, that's how many conditions you're going to want to have. So I have 4 programs, so that means I have 4 conditions. So now what you need to do is you need to take the curmission value and you need to use a data wire to connect that up to the switch statement's input. So you just drag that data wire across. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to do this actual what happens when the variable is equal to 0, what happens when it's equal to 1, and so on. So to do that, all you do is you want to display which program is going to be run next. So you take out a display block, you drag that into each one of the cases, and for the if curmission equals 0 case, then you type in whatever your first program's name is, and when the variable is equal to 1, you type in whatever your second program's name is, and you go so on all the way up until curmission is equal to your highest value. Okay, so that's how you write the switch based on curmission. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next part of our code, the if left NXT button is pressed. So what we're going to do there is you drag out another switch block, so that's right here, and then you have the control as sensor and the sensor as the NXT buttons, and you have the left button checked. And you're going to want to leave flat view checked because we only have 2 possibilities here. And for the action, you're going to want to use bumped. So to redefine a variable, what you do is you use 3 blocks. You first have to read the variable, so you just bring out the variable right here, and then you select the variable you want to read, curmission, and then you go and get a math block, so that's right here. And then for the math block, because we want to subtract 1 from curmission, we select subtraction, and then for B we give that as a value of 1. So you just drag the value from curmission to the A input, and then we take the resulting value, which will be 1 less than curmission, and then you have to redrag that into curmission. So you just go bring out curmission in another variable block, and this time you have to select right because you want to rewrite what curmission is equal to. So this is how you redefine curmission to be equal to 1 less than it used to be. So in the next section of our program, if right NXT button is pressed, we do the exact same thing except for the fact that the button is now right button rather than left button, and rather than subtracting we are adding. But beyond that, everything else is the same. Okay, so now we're going to get into how do we actually run the programs in the user interface. So to do that, you go and add another switch statement, and this time it's going to be the sensor will be a touch sensor, and we'll leave flat view checked because there's only 2 options again, and we're going to use port 1 as our sensor port because that's just the way I have it configured in my robot, and the action is going to be bumped. And the reason for that is you don't want to still be holding on to the touch sensor when your robot's trying to move, because that's really going to mess up how your mission gets run. So now we have to do the exact same thing that we had in our switch based on curmission for displaying a program. So you just read a curmission variable, and then you tie that to a switch statement, which will have the exact same amount of conditions as the programs you want to run. And the only thing that's different between this and the first part of our while loop, the switch based on current mission to display which mission is going to be run, the only difference is what goes inside of the switch block itself. So in here you're going to put the actual program that you want to run. So for me, all of my programs are a image followed by a wait for 1 second. So for if the current mission value is 0, I do a happy face. If the current mission value is 1, I do a neutral face. For the current mission value is 2, I do a sad face. And for current mission value is 3, I do a snail. So those are my programs. You're going to replace those with missions when you actually write this program. And then once the program is finished running, we want to redefine current mission to be equal to 1 more than it used to be. So this is exactly what we used in the if right NXT button is pressed, add 1 to current mission part. The reason why we're doing this is so that if you want to, you can go through your entire list of programs simply by clicking the touch sensor. And only if you need to go back or if you need to skip forward will you ever have to use the NXT buttons. So this will save you a lot of time. And there is one more section of this program that wasn't put in the pseudocode, but what this does is if the value of current mission goes below 0 or if it goes above 4, then it's going to redefine it to be either 0 or 4. So because the program isn't really going to know what to do with a variable that is outside of its conditions. So to do that, we read current mission, so we just again take that from the data and we just drag that variable block in. And then we feed that into a range block, and that range block is also found in the data, so it's right here. And if it is outside of the range 0 from 3, so that's the range for my conditions. But let's say you have 10 missions, then your range would be from 0 to 9. So then you just replace B with 9. But anyway, so those are just specifics. And then you go into a switch statement. Now this switch statement is based off of value, but the value type is logic, not number. So, and because there's only 2 possibilities for a logic thing, true or false, we can still use flat view. So the conditions are either true or false. So if current mission is outside of our condition set in the earlier part of the program, then what happens is we go and try and redefine current mission. So then we again read current mission, and this time if it's inside the range 4 to 100, which means that it's greater than the range that we have set for our conditions, then we're going to redefine that value to be 3 so that it goes back into our range. So let's say we click write 1 time too many, so we go from 3 to 4. Then what's going to happen is it's going to say, okay, this is outside of our range. Okay, so then we're going to go right here, and it's between 4 to 100, which means that it needs to go back down to 3. But if it's outside of our range and it's not in 4 to 100, then the only possibility is it's below 0. So that means that we redefine it to be equal to 0. So that's how we know whether it's above our range or below our range. So now what's going to happen is the current mission value can only go from the 0 to 3. So I won't be getting any nonsensical values for current mission. So that's the program. So we can download it and then we can try it out. Okay, so now testing out the program, you go to UI Advanced, Running. So there you have that program 1, program 2, program 3, program 4, and when we click it again, it still stays at program 4. So if we run program 4, it runs a snail. So now going back to program 1, it goes happy face, the neutral face, and the sad face, and then the snail. So it works.